warrior mage paladin, because it does seem like when they go after Zuniaki, the matchup looks a lot better. And I would not be surprised if that's what they lock in blind. Just try to make it work, because if they can make it work, all of a sudden, Method EU once again is in this situation where they don't have an answer for this composition, and that's definitely a scary thing. But they're not going with it. It's just going to be mirrors for this one, and we'll see. I'm curious to see if we are going to see any differences in the builds from the mages, the Shadow Priests, the Paladins. I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah, we'll have to see. If you're watching from home and you want to check out the gear these guys are running, you can check out that bottom bar down below, or exclamation gear in chat, and you can check out what your favorite players are running in these matches. But it's going to be a mirror Method EU versus Skillcapped EU facing off in the European finals.
Yeah, and we're going to see here the gates are open here for the finals, and we're going to see a flat out Shadow Priest Mage mirror here. Kind of what we expected to see here from both of these teams. Double Dragon's Breath coming out here onto Tessia and Zunimaro, just trying to shut everything down, resetting the cooldown of that Dragon's Breath as well. So potential here to get aggressive if he chooses to, but right now both of these teams just kind of feeling each other out, getting a little bit of damage. But here comes the first setup. It's going to be from Frofsy. He gets the disarm into the silence onto the mage here. Beautiful damage coming out from Maro. His Kleptomania does get purged off there, which means that Tessia now, if he uses his combustion, Maro is going to have a free spell still on that. So not the best situation here for Tessia to be in. And Maro is going to be a little bit ahead here since he pulled the trigger first.
All right, let's see if he can keep that lead moving forward. Actually having to blink away from the engagement here. Back to the pillar, we see Method EU with a positional advantage. Chaz can drink in this position, whereas Asgrath will easily get sniped, and Chaz is taking full advantage of that to just drink even a 10% differential in mana at that point. Both teams just attacking each other out in midfield. Silence is tossed onto important spells, trying to slow down the game as they're building up for that big combustion push. Stun onto Thasia first here as they jump into Void form, trying to take him down. Thasia going to have to pull back away from this fight. Zuniaki's got Void form up. He's trying to crack in some damage with that Shadow Crash, but Asgrath's Avenging Wrath getting a ton of value. Maro just laying down a Rune of Power. Zuniaki fishes for a Mind Games, connecting it onto Maro, stunning the Dispel. So an interesting way to punish the Dispel of the healer. You can only dispel one magic effect every 8 seconds, but they're just taking a lot of damage. Frofsy and Maro are really developing pressure, and Thasia has to pull back, and you can tell which team is kind of at an advantaged position based on how far back they are. And right now they're both just pushing at each other in a similar position, maybe slightly behind for Asgrath here. However, Chaz has been spending way more mana overall. I think the scoreboard at the end of this is going to be an interesting one to check out.
Yeah, definitely. Both these mages just playing flame cannon, just turrets in the midfield, just shooting out fireballs. And if they ever can get crowd control on the enemy mage, that's when they can pop combustion. So Maro actually trinketed out of the last Psychic Horror to Kleptomania cancel on Thasia. And that means the next time they get that crowd control, Maro could be in some danger. It could be a cauterize. It could be an ice block. Here it is. Disarm on Maro. Big damage incoming. But Frofsy with a massive Shadow Man. I do believe he's still going to be playing that Shadow Man legendary. So even if Asgrath's in crowd control, Frofsy has that stacked up and he throws in a Shadow Man, Maro's going to be completely fine, which is what we just saw.
Yeah, and he is indeed playing that legendary, whereas Zuniaki is opting for that double PI legendary. So Zuniaki, more offense, Frofsy, more defense, and Tessia, a little bit more sustained damage. He's going to have more combustions since he is playing without that Meteor. He's playing that Kindling talent. And Maro, on the flip side, he is going to be running that Meteor. So there you can see it as well from the ground. And Maro, I really like Maro's build a little bit more here, to be honest with you. With that Meteor, I just think it's so important in this matchup to actually get that value from the combustion. Big damage coming out here onto Zuniaki. Zuniaki actually not going to be using his dispersion. Instead, it's going to be Chaz responding there with the Trinket Sacrifice. Now, Tessia pulling his combustion here. Immediate response from Asgrath as well with the Trinket Sacrifice. So both teams looking very even so far.
Yeah, good trades from the Paladins for those powerful mage cooldowns. in that last engagement. Now with no medallions, that mind control bop tactic that we saw Method EU snipe a win with could be utilized here. Chaz caught in a polymorph. Zuniaki gets disrupted on the Mass Dispel. Looks like there was a follow-up polymorph on it. Looking for Ring of Frost, trying to continue the chain as long as possible. Going for a Door of Shadows Disorient as well, buying every second that they can to remove that Avenging Wrath, and they have done it. They crowd controlled Chaz so long, he got no value on that initial Avenging Wrath. Asgrath's trying to drink while his team has pressure, but Thasia blinks in on top of him. Maro blinks on top of Thasia to stop it. Zuniaki, the Door of Shadows in to guarantee the polymorph. Good teamwork between Zuni and Thasia to guarantee that polymorph, but they can't set up too much damage here. The polymorph is going to get mass dispelled by Frofsy instantly. Asgrath will line of sight. Chaz is pulled far away from the fight, and this is what this fight really comes down to, is can the Paladins retreat back and drink when their team is developing pressure prior to dampening, because man, it's going to be a major problem deeper into the match here. These flame strikes have been excellent from both mages, just denying the Paladins around the corner with that area of effect. Asgrath silenced up here. They're trying to set up, but they can't, as Frofsy was able to avoid the engagement. Maro out in midfield with shifting power, trying to develop and reset cooldowns, but Chaz is drinking. Is there a way for them to stop? He has to come back into the fight. Thasia's getting blasted. Thasia going to trade a Battle Master, get a big boost of health, and Chaz is going to go for a Divine Favor heal, and they will stabilize. Asgrath looks like he may want to slip around the corner here to the left of the screen and drink as well. Sits down for a drink. Zuniaki and Thasia are immediately going to stop that, though, with the Flame Strike. Chaz just dispelling off some crowd control, trying to get aggressive, actually, but his mage is very low health while they make this push. Maro's down to half, Thasia's down to half. Who's going to fall first? Chaz gets mass dispelled out of the polymorph and then dispels the incoming stun, but now gets stunned himself. And they're going after Chaz. They're trying to force a Divine Shield here with a Fear on Thasia. Dragon's Breath, not enough. Chaz is going to be able to line of sight, hold on to that Divine Protection. Really want to see mind controls. Now that the Paladins are in range of the priests here, some mind control bops could be devastating.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, in the earlier stages of this game, we saw a bit of a different dynamic. At first, it was all about skill capped EU. The last time these two teams met, they were pushing in and kind of overextending Asgrath's position. This time, they seem a lot less reluctant to actually do so. So taking a defensive posture, allowing Method EU to push into them. A full polymorph now on Chaz, and Thasia is in trouble. This could be the Ice Block, it could be the Cauterize. Big damage incoming. Trinket sacrifice from Chaz, and it just... I get the feeling from just watching these games play out. Actually, let's see what happens. Maro getting it incredibly low. He managed to get the Ice Block. Oh, Master Spell comes in. Maro still in some danger. Asgrath tops him off in that situation. But I was going to say, it seems like the team that pushes in, they kind of compromise their position. However, Method EU was able to kind of strike back and get the Ice Block from Maro, and they're actually ahead now in this game.
Yeah, that was really, really nice shutdown there by Frofsy as well. Frofsy prevented that situation from escalating any further. Silenced up Thasia there on his polymorph, and then also threw out one big Shadow Man with that legendary, able to top his mage off there, and only trading the Ice Block there. But now they don't have that button available here. Maro stuck in a Psychic Horror. No real crowd control here onto Asgrath, though, and here we go. Reverse setup on Thasia. He takes a big meteor to the face. Chaz also gets stunned up there, but Thasia's going to trinket out, blink, and it looks like he's going to have enough defense there to be able to survive Chaz dispels the silence right there, and now they're going to go and look after another opportunity here onto Maro potentially. There's a Ring of Frost being channeled here from Thasia. He's trying to corner Asgrath and Frofsy here, and this is actually really good. This allows Zuniaki to push it in, and there it is. It's going to be a full fear here potentially onto Asgrath as well as Frofsy potentially. They get a sheep onto Frofsy, Hammer of Justice onto Asgrath. Maro in a world of trouble. Where's the Psychic Scream though? Zuniaki gets counterspelled. He's not going to be able to find it, but because he got counterspelled, it means Thasia can land a polymorph and he's going to get it, but no stop for the Master Spell of Frofsy. Means Asgrath is going to come out, and all of that was set up from just Thasia dropping a random ring around Asgrath like that. So definitely nice play, but also a nice shutdown here once again from Frofsy, and now Frofsy and Maro looking to get their own pressure here to get a disarm onto Chaz into a full polymorph. Thasia in a lot of trouble here. Chaz has no trigger for a couple more seconds. They might need to greet it here. Chaz could go for the sacrifice if he needs to. Doesn't look like he's going to need to here, and he's just going to go for big heals. Now they go for a silence and a Hammer of Justice setup. Maro forced to use his trinket there, and both of these teams just neck and neck, pressuring each other's mages.
Polymorph and Nazgrath, Mind Games out here from Zuniaki. Master Spell comes in from both Shadow Priest. Paladins out of crowd control. Zuniaki the target, but Chaz has Avenging Wrath up. It's going to be a lot of healing. He should be able to recover as long as he's not crowd controlled. Zuniaki goes back to full health. Slight mana advantage to the side of Skill Cap EU. However, they're down in Ice Block, so if they want to win on mana, they're going to have to make sure that that lead is more established than it is currently. Combustion going here for Morrow on a counterspell on Thasia. Nice play by Morrow. That's going to force sacrifice from the hand of Chaz. Zuniaki now gets swapped to Greater fading that incoming burst, but they're all very low health. Chaz doesn't have Avenging Wrath. It's going to cost him a lot of mana to heal without Avenging Wrath here. Trying to dispel off the Mind Games, stay ahead of the pressure. Maybe he's going to go for a drink, but they're certainly going to have to trade an Ice Block if they want to try and get mana with this. They're going to proc the Cauterize. They were 1% away from procking the Cauterize. Chaz gets an Awakening proc on his Avenging Wrath and stabilizes Thasia. Asgrath, in the meantime, regenerates a huge mana advantage. Morrow's Ice Block is coming up in 20, and if Skill Cap EU can win the Mirror and the Blind pick, it means they'll have their Warrior Mage Paladin advantage on small picks for the rest of the series. This is very important for Method EU to not lose game one.
Yeah, and so far it is going in their favor. Mind Games coming in as they make a swap on Zuniaki. Thasia, of course, going to be a little bit scared as well, but Chaz, in desperation, just trying to go for drinks, and he actually does manage to recover some mana at 30% dampening, but this game will inevitably close out soon. I don't know how long these teams can sustain the consistent damage coming in from the Mage and the Shadow Priest. It could come down to just a lockout. Zuniaki gets interrupted. They try to burst him down into a Psychic Horror. Chaz dispels it. Zuniaki's going to have to keep himself alive. Big damage now onto Morrow. Just wizard bolts flying in all over the place, and it just comes down to little things. If your healer dispels, that's an opportunity for you to get caught into crowd control. You get silence, you get Psychic Horde. So just capitalizing on these little small windows and throwing in all your bursts during that time is how these teams are going to try to win. The damage on Zuniaki, getting low. A lot of pressure here for Skill Cap EU. They have a big lead, and Chaz is going to fall further and further behind. Look at Asgrath. He's just more than happy to sit down, drink, recover even more mana, put his team in even more of a lead. The Skill Cap EU, they're playing this one out expertly.
Yeah, much more defensive game plan here from Skillcapped EU, and you can see here we're at 35% dampening. Chaz now looking for the drink here. Can he find it? That's the question. Morrow pushes in immediately, snipes him with the Flame Strike, and now they get pressure here onto Tessia as well. Anytime Chaz goes for these drinks, it is putting Tessia under a lot of fire here, and we're going to see Morrow now looking to get a sheep here onto Chaz. He gets it from max range. Zuniaki with the Master Spell, but that is going to be the Cauterize here from Tessia. He is on fire right now. Tessia here looking at push in. Dragon's Breath comes in. He's going for the Polymorph, realizing they need to land some actual crowd control here if they want to have an opportunity to drink. Chaz is now in the middle of the map here. No mana almost left in the tank, and Chaz is also on 50% HP. Zuniaki, Hammer of Justice. Prophecy still ducking for cover. Another sheep here onto Asgrath. Gets Master Spelled by Prophecy. Zuniaki actually going to be the one taking the brunt of this exchange. Tessia forced into his Ice Block with that full sheep onto Chaz, and Zuni now forced to use his Vampiric Embrace as well as his Dispersion. And obviously the Vampiric Embrace, you want to do damage to actually heal with it, and in Dispersion you're not actually doing any damage. So Zuniaki definitely didn't want to use that button right there, but was forced into it, and Method EU are falling apart here, Sid.
Yeah, like I said at the start of the game, I think the scoreboard is going to say a lot between this mirror at the moment. There's so much pressure in favor of Skill Cap EU, a massive mana advantage, a massive cooldown advantage. I'm not sure if Method EU can come back from such a deficit. Prophecy with Power Infusion active, Morrow has Combustion available. If Thasia gets locked on a Polymorph, I think it's game over. They silence Thasia. They could go for a Combustion during silence. Thasia trinkets it. Now Thasia without a trinket could get stun locked and destroyed. They're trying to power down Morrow here with a Fear on Asgrath. Can they do it? Here comes the Combustion on the counterspell into a Psychic Horror, punishing that medallion. How much value they need to close the game out with this Combustion. Morrow still has it active for a couple of more seconds, but not finding too much damage. Chaz gets an Awakening proc, but he's got no mana. They could switch to Zuniaki. Asgrass lobbing out some Hammer of Wrath onto Zuniaki. Thasia is taking a beating. Morrow blinks in aggressively. They know they've got this in the bag. They've got so much mana. It's time to dogpile on top of Method EU and close this out. Door of Shadows aggressively into the Psychic Scream. Chaz is desperate, laying out the hammer, trying to push them away, but now caught into a Polymorph. Has to trinket out of a 3-second Polymorph, trying to stabilize the team with nothing left here. Asgrath and a Polymorph likely to trade a cooldown if he needs to stay aggressive. They need to stay right on top of them. They can't let Chaz drink. Morrow's going to blink in and stop Chaz from drinking. Still just powering down Thasia. Dragon's Breath stun into Hammers of Justice. They need Divine Shield. Divine Shield sacrifice will keep Thasia alive here. Zuniaki has Dispersion. They have cooldowns to stay in the fight the tiniest bit longer, but they just don't have tempo. They don't have momentum. And without it, I don't know how they string this around. Zuniaki at 30% health, trying to take down Morrow. 10% health, has to go into dispersion. Thasia gets peeled on his combustion by the Dragon's Breath. Still trying to get some value. Now kleptoed off by Morrow. Morrow Vulpening in on top here. And Zuniaki's got nothing. He's got nothing, and he will drop. Skill Cap EU take the mirror in game number 1.
I mean, that's exactly what we wanted to see from them as well. Just have the confidence to lock it in the blind pick. They played it out beautifully. Asgrath going for drinks. I'm curious to see what the scoreboard looked like, because in a matchup like that, just getting out damage is it's really important for overall tempo in the match, and also just allows your healer a lot more opportunities to go back and drink. So if they can get Method on the back foot like we saw, that's when Asgrath can really just sit back, go for drinks, recover, and it puts them further and further ahead in the match.
Yeah, and they're going to be taking that game number 1 victory. Very different from when we saw these guys mirror last time earlier today. It was Method EU that won that one, but we are going to be seeing Skill Cap EU take that game number 1 victory in the mirror here. And there are those match results you guys were talking about.
Actually insane.
Very similar. The biggest difference I can see is Chaz just had to do more healing, and Asgrath did more damage than Chaz. So I think that's really the big takeaway here.
Really?
I think Tessia and Maro, I mean, there's 100k between them, but the Shadow Priests are both.
Look
Yeah.
at it's actually insane. Look at the healing done for Frofsy and Zuniaki.
Yeah.
It's within 1,000. Like that's nuts. Like what? That's so close.
They're just clones of each other in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, here we can see the final couple of moments here in the game. I mean, at this point, Chaz just used his last cooldown right there to sacrifice. That's just trying to get some pressure with his combustion, but they're just too far behind. I mean, Asgrath has literally his whole spell book left. His mana bar is still, pretty healthy at this point, and Zuni's going to come out of that dispersion. They're going to land one single... Actually, they didn't even land a crowd control. Yeah, they land a poly there onto Chaz, and that's it. But I mean, even if they don't have a poly there, they can probably just push Zuni over with raw damage at that point, that deep into dampening, and when you're just that much ahead.
Yeah, and they are looking so good for game number 1. I mean, the difference between last time we saw these guys is pretty noticeable here. So I'm curious to see if they can continue in this direction, or is Method EU going to be able to take game number 2 here, tying this up? We're going to have to find out shortly. The draft process is well on its way, and now they're going to have kind of like an advantage, like you guys were saying, winning that blind pick, winning game number 1 in series like these that are so close is so crucial. Venriki, now they've won game number 1, and I feel like that's setting them up very, very nicely for the rest of this series, especially considering that they won that mirror match.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's really no doubt about it. You know, when you have teams that are this evenly matched and they both have multiple compositions that kind of counter each other, just having that first game advantage means if it does go back and forth in game 7, you have the map pick, you have the composition pick, and that is heavily in your favor. So for Method EU, at some point, they're going to have to win a swing match, right? So if they can win here, in Method EU, they'll be happy about that, but then they have to win one of the other matchups where it's not their comp pick, it's not their map pick, and if they can do that at any point during the series, it puts them back in it. But I would say definitely in favor of Skill Cap EU. Tolveron Arena, what is Skill Cap EU going to do? It puts them in a really hard spot, because right now, if they play the Shadow Priest Mage Paladin, you know what? I don't know. I still feel like Shadow Priest Mage Paladin is not that bad into Rogue Mage Priest. I mean, maybe I
big
haven't
map
seen
they
it.
should.
I think they should just
I don't
pick it
know.
100%.
Yeah, the Skill Cap, they should for sure pick Shadow Priest Mage, but I don't know if Method set them... I actually expected them to go to like a Tiger's Peak or something like that. I don't know how good Tolvir is going to be for them if they lock Rogue Mage in. So, I don't know.
I don't even...
you don't even know if it should win? Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah, I don't.
I don't either.
I think they want the mirror. They either want the mirror or they're baiting Warrior Mage.
There's no way they're going to lock Warrior Mage. I think
that's why I said baiting it.
Yeah. It's not a very good bait. Lock Warrior Mage and Tolvir, I dare you.
I mean, they might be that afraid of Rogue Mage.
No
That's
way.
I don't know if they should be, though.
Well, we'll see. I think there's a good chance we just see mirrors all over.
The whole series.
Yeah, the whole series. I think it could just be mirrors.
It's going to be funny if it is that, because then all our analysis throughout this entire tournament between these two teams has been for nothing. Like, there's no rogue mage counter comping. It's just methody. Like, this is just the comp, and they're just gonna have. It would be really interesting. Okay, so it is. I was gonna say, I think it's really interesting for the 10th time that Method EU and Skillcapped EU now have to mirror each other. There's no shenanigans. It's just you play the exact same comp. Which one of these two teams is better? That's what it comes down to.
It's true. I mean, we talk about it basically every cup. We've talked about it multiple times today. We're always seeing these two teams against each other for years, like you guys have said. And you're right, seeing them here for cup number 4, especially. I feel like it's a fitting way to end this region. We're seeing them mirror here, and these teams are just so close. They've always been close. When one gets ahead, the other pulls through, and then the other one gets ahead, and it's just completely back and forth. And it's kind of the proving ground right now for both of these teams for which one is going to come out ahead here. And I'm just so excited to see these two teams finally coming to an end here with the mirror in such a way in cup number 4 for this region. So it's a great way to wrap this up. This is already shaping up to be a really nice series. We're seeing Skillcapped EU step up to the plate here, not shying away from that mirror like we saw them do earlier today. They weren't able to beat Method EU, but they went back to the drawing board. They figured something out here, and here we are at game number 2, mirroring. That is a hard word to say if you say it enough times. Mirroring in game number 2 in the finals, best of 7 as well here for the European finals. It's Method EU versus Skillcapped EU, game number 2.
All right, let's see.
Excited to see how they play this. Is Method EU gonna just try and drink more? Because, like we saw on the scoreboard, the only difference, which it was substantial. I mean, Asgrath took advantage of his wings damage a lot more than Chaz. It's definitely something you need to do as a paladin. It's a huge amount of damage between Hammer of Wrath, which you can only use during Avenging Wrath, or when the target's low health, and then Judgment as well. Other than that, I think it was just drinks. Asgrath got more drinks. So if Chaz does a bit more damage and they can set up more drinks, this game could look completely different into dampening. Chaz is getting more aggressive, charging into the midfield, looking for a stun, and then repositioning towards the middle pillar at this point here. So Method EU, they get the first engagement, but they're actually falling behind as a result. So this matchup may be one where a game of patience is more valuable than a game of aggression.
I mean, it certainly seems that way. At least that's my take on it. Originally, when we saw these two teams meet in their previous series, it was actually Skillcapped EU. They were playing a lot more aggressive. Maro was actively going for crowd control, and it was just putting Asgrath in a really awkward situation where he'd have to push in and really expose himself to CC. Now that's not happening. Maro and Frosty, they're just sitting back. Just sit back. If they can get any sort of pressure lead, then Asgrath's going to drink, and I do. Unless we see like a big Mind Games one-shot on one of these mages that they don't expect, I feel like this game inevitably like pretty much has to go to dampening with the way these two teams are playing it. Like there's just no way. They're both just countering each other's combustions with Kleptomania. The only way they can really get crowd control is like a 3-second burst window with Disarm. The priests aren't even going in for a silence. Mara actually blinking in to get shifting power damage out on Thasia and Zuniaki, just AoEing them down. It's just interesting how the matchup's evolved and changed. Right now, Thasia moving in, getting a Flame Strike, denying the drink. Mana still basically full for both these Paladins as we're about 2 minutes into the game.
Yeah, we're going to potentially see that mana bar move in favor of one of these teams. So that's going to be a big kind of focal point to who is actually going to be ahead. We're going to see Frofsy actually using his Everyman for himself right there, trying to break out of a stun. Aura Mastery is active here on Maro and Frofsy, so they can free cast. Maro now blinking in aggressively here, trying to get some damage off, and he's actually going to be the one taking the damage there, so needs to be very careful there. Moving back to his side of the map, Frofsy now is going to activate his Void Form and get a whole bunch of damage off as well, and he's pairing that up with his Vampiric Embrace as well. Zuni is going to be the target of choice here. Big damage hit onto Zuni right now, but he is going to have that Fade to rely on, and he's going to activate the Fade right there, and he's going to activate his own Vampiric Embrace now. So both of these teams definitely mirroring each other in terms of strategy here. Tessia right now just sitting in his own Rune of Power, just spamming out damage, spamming out fireballs here, and let's see here. Chaz, the first one to push in. They get a Sheep onto Prophecy and a Hammer of Justice on Tomorrow. And that's basically how the setups are going to look. And when the Paladins are both so far away from each other, if Chaz tries to run across the map and Hammer of Justice Asgrath, there's a very high chance that he gets sheeped while he's crossing the map, or he gets feared or silenced or stunned and swapped to. It's just too high of a risk. That's why both of these Paladins are staying on their respective sides, and we're not going to really see them move away from that position. Instead, what we're going to see is maybe Prophecy gets sheeped, Askaraf dispels that sheep, and then if Maro is too far forward, he gets Hammer of Justice, and then they get a bunch of damage since Dispel has that cooldown, and we're going to potentially see these teams play around that much more. But Tessia just blinks in there aggressively and drops the Flame Strike there to stop Askaraf from drinking, but it's actually Chaz on the back foot in terms of mana, and now Chaz also had to use his sacrifice here, so small victories right now for Skillcap to you.
So we have some build changes here in game 2. Zuniaki's copying Prophecy's legendary, seeing the value of having a Shadowman that could top a target that is going to be valuable, as he drops a Shadowman here that heals Thasia to full HP. So definitely valuable in a burst damage matchup like this. I like that adaptation by Zuniaki, but there's still actually a difference between the Shadow Priest, that Prophecy has decided to run Thought Steal, so he can steal Polymorph away from Thasia, whereas Zuniaki is opting for a longer Devouring Plague, which isn't getting a tremendous amount of value because the Shadow Priest can actually just dispel each other's Devouring Plagues. I think I kind of like the Thought Steal a bit more on the side of Prophecy here if Thasia ever pushes in. And I'm wondering if Prophecy has even used it yet in this game. He might be holding it until deeper in Dampening and then maybe catching Thasia off guard when he tries to go in for a sheep and like, wait, where'd it go? I don't have a sheep. It's going to allow them an opportunity to push and not be peeled either. Here's the stolen Polymorph by Prophecy. And I'm wondering if they're going to make a push while that Thought Steal is currently active or not. They're choosing not to, just playing out in midfield, attacking Thasia. They managed to push him away, and this means Asgrath could sneak away and drink, although he's not that low on mana. Every little bit matters.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, the thing is, as dampening gets higher, your availability to get a drink goes down drastically. So having mana, basically just trying to have that 100% mana for as long as possible is really important for both of these teams. At a certain point, if one gets ahead, that's when you fall behind and they're able to push in. And at that point, you basically never recover, which is what we saw in the last game. And Thasia taking a little bit of damage. Look at just how far away Chaz is. He's just so far. There's just no way they're going to be able to develop any momentum with the way both these teams are playing it out. But at the same time, both these teams feel like if they do make a push, they're putting themselves at a disadvantage. So it's kind of just an awkward spot for both these teams to play in. If it does look a little bit funny, that's just the nature of a matchup like this. Maro is going to be looking for potential burst here on Thasia. They get some incredibly low. What happened to his health? Was that a...
Shadow Mend.
1%. He went from 1% to 100% health. I thought he left the game. You know when some people would Alt F4 out of the game, and health goes from 1 to 100. I literally thought that's what just happened. That was insane, and that was no cooldowns from the side of Method EU. They managed to recover that setup. 10% dampening, a setup like that, it just gets scarier and scarier as the game goes on. Chad's going to be bombing out some Holy Lights. Thasia managing to survive right now. Looking to reset his combustion. Maro's got his combustion available. And in terms of mana, once again, Skillcap to you, they do have a bit of a lead.
Yeah, they do have a bit of a lead. Chaz was able to sneak away and drink, but still now actually able to do that exact same thing. Chaz he's using the Mimpoika strat. It's like you stay at the pillar, and then you stand there and you just cast heals, but you're just fake casting. You're pretending that you're healing, and then you drop combat and you just sit down and drink. That's the hashtag Mimpoika strats, and it's working well here. Chaz actually replacing Poika as well on that team, so definitely learning a few things before he yoinks that slot. And we're going to see Tessia now taking a little bit of damage here as well, but that Aura Mastery is going to allow Chaz to just power him back up to full HP, and of course that Wings proc right there as well, doing a little bit of work. And we're going to see both of these wizards just kind of trying to get ahead. And actually right now, Asgraf is the one who needs to drink. So the reason why Zuniaki and Tessia are positioning like this is because they have the mana lead now, and they want to go in and actually get aggressive. But I don't know if that's going to be too smart of a choice here. Tessia shutting down Chaz from drinking. And look at the distance between Maro and between Chaz and Tessia right now is going to force Chaz into bad positions, and he's always going to have to leave that pillar. The further his wizards kind of move forward, the worse his positioning is going to be. And at any point, Mario can just blink in, get a sheep, and he's trying to fish for it right now, but Chaz outranging it, very, very smart, and he is going to be able to keep his position, but this means that Asgrath won't be pressured anymore, and that means Asgrath can sit down for a drink if he wants to. Now Chaz, having expended more mana than Asgrath in this last couple of exchanges, is now forced to potentially sit down and drink. He actually gets feared here by the Psychic Horror on his Divine Favor, and he gets caught up in a full polymorph. Here's the first real CC shut up. Big damage onto Tessia. Chaz trinket, sacrifice immediately right there. Tessia had no trinket for that Hammer of Justice. He was going to get absolutely destroyed. So nice response there. But look at Asgrath now. As soon as his team gets pressure, sits down for a drink. Tessia does snipe it with a Flame Strike, but these are the kind of moments, as soon as you get any crowd control like that, that's when the Paladin can just sit back and drink, and we're going to see it right now. Maru taking a lot of damage here. He might be forced to go back behind the pillar, and that would allow Chaz now to sit down for a drink here as well. Look at him already just fake Poika Strike right there behind the pillar. You see that fake cast right there, and now he's sitting down for a drink. You're going to see Chaz mana bar go up here a little bit. Yeah, there it is, one tick. Ooh, Tessia takes a little bit of damage though. Chaz forced to cancel that drink, but he did get a couple of ticks at least, so not looking too bad right now for Method EU, aside from the fact that they just used that trinket sacrifice.
Asgrath sat down for a drink too, so mana is evening out between the teams here. Sunyaki's going to have a lot more healing as well. I think that Legendary is more valuable. PI just gets dispelled off anyways. So this is going to be interesting and dampening to see if Method EU can get ahead here. They're in a lot better of a position than we saw in game number 1. They really can't afford to lose their map pick. This series will spiral completely out of their control if they do. So they are in a good position. Frosty interrupted at the moment. They're targeting him, and Asgrath is just healing from behind the pillar. Chaz is drinking. Are they going to be able to stop the drink or go for a push? I mean, Chaz is going to full mana here. Can they get a cooldown in exchange for the drink? Doesn't look like it. They're going to dispel Mind Games. They have the Combustion, though. So if they crowd control Thasia here, interrupt a Polymorph, they could just pop off with the Combustion. They're going to go for it. Big Combustion. Maro gets stunned by Frofsy and dispelled off by Thasia. Nice counterplay on Maro's Combustion. Now Thasia has his Combustion available, waiting to pop that in the same regard. Asgrass pulled very far back into the corner. Thasia's blinking in to stop him from drinking, and they get a bit of an advantage, but Chaz is in a Polymorph, but Maro's in a Silence. It's like a scary moment. Chaz gets Mass Dispelled out, it looks like, but into another Polymorph, and here's the Thought Steal from Frofsy. He's not going to allow Thasia to be polymorphing here, and Thasia's running away at very low health. Maro blinks in to try and finish him off here. Will he find the kill? Stun onto Chaz. They're swapping to Chaz in that Hammer of Justice. Trying to keep it up, mix it up a little bit, but not finding enough damage to really take him down. Stun on Maro. Asgrath going to sacrifice. I think it was more than a fair trade during the power infusion and combustion between Thasia and Zuniaki. Maro pulling back to Asgrath's side, but Frofsy's left out in midfield. They're going to immediately switch to him. They've got skill capped EU pinned at the pillar at the moment, and as a result, Chaz should be able to retreat back and drink more frequently. Thasia blinking back to his healer a bit here, preempting that incoming stun, and able to position in a way that Chaz is now able to heal him, but his Avenging Rat just fell. His healing is going to be significantly reduced now at 40% dampening with no Avenging Wrath. He can't get Thasia above half health at this point. He's just struggling. He's floundering. Chaz has to trade a sacrifice outside of a cooldown window. That's devastating, but they're mind controlling Frosty into enemy territory. Chaz is going to stun him up, instantly dispelled into Greater Fade. Nice reposition from Frosty here. Chaz is taking a lot of redirected sacrifice damage, though, in the meantime, and he's not getting an Awakening proc on these Word of Glories. His healing is so significantly reduced, and he's beginning to struggle again.
Yeah, it definitely is. Everyone is low on Method EU. Skill Capped EU definitely winning this kind of PvE war in the middle of the map, where the side that does the most damage, these little micro setups really put you ahead. Thasia finally being topped off, but Chaz might have to go for a drink. Surprisingly, Method EU actually a little bit ahead on mana. Chaz out of combo. He's full mana! Oh no, Skill Cap EU, they dropped the ball completely. And as a result, Method EU, they're going to have a significant lead at this point. And now, this is the point of the game at 50% dampening. Ooh, Frosty getting incredibly low. They might just take him down. Mana might not matter whatsoever. I don't know if Frosty's going to be able to recover. He's got the Greater Fade. We're at 46% dampening right now. Thasia Zuniaki looking to get crazy here. You get the Ring of Frost on Asgrath. He trinkets out. Tomorrow 50% health, as well as Frosty. They're all getting low. Really, really, really a lot of momentum here for the side of Method EU. As I say that, Thasia gets bursted down in the midfield. Needs to be incredibly careful. Doesn't want to have the Cauterize overlapped with the Ice Block. So just going to trade that out. Doesn't look like there will be a Master Spell, but he's still low on health. Needs to be very careful. Finally, a big heal coming in from Chaz. He's got the Avenging Wrath up right now. 50% dampening. Thasia's health still just going down. Is he going to be able to get the Polymorph? He manages to find it here on Asgrath. Frosty and Marl still low. Potential Master Spell coming in from Frosty. I don't know if it actually landed, though. He's still incredibly low. Vampiric Embrace. Just doing anything he can to survive. Asgrath has the Divine Shield sacrifice. He can make the trade, and he will. He has to at this point. And Method EU, they've got the mana lead, they've got the pressure lead, they've got the cooldown lead. They're looking good for this game, too.
Yeah, but Tessia doesn't have anything, though. He's the big weakness right now on the side of Method, taking big damage. Asgrath does come out of that Ring of Frost. Chaz forced to trade out his sacrifice here, so he should be able to stabilize Tessia in that situation. Now Tessia looking to reset his combustion here. Mario just popped his onto Chaz. Chaz actually using his Divine Shield right there as well. So all of that cooldown lead that they just had, well, that cooldown lead has been lost. They need to push in and try to execute the game, but Frofsy does have his dispersion, and so does Mario has the ice block.
It's over.
Actually, Tessia is just dead at this point. There's a full Ring of Frost. Cauterized triggers. There's the Fear. There's the DR Sheep. Tessia is a seed. Can they protect the egg? That is the question here right now, and the answer is no. There are no pods growing here in the sands of Tolvir, and Skill-Capped EU are going to take game number 2 as a result.
Oh my gosh, Skill-Capped EU completely turning this series around here from when we last saw these two teams face off against each other. Now they're already up 2-0 in this European Finals, the very last one, and here they are totally proving themselves as a team and how they can overcome these obstacles, Super T's. That was this is good. I'm proud of these guys.
Well,
great.
Now we get the test, right? Like in the series,
Yeah.
I think Method EU are going to set up a Rogue Mage map now, a Tiger's Peak, a Rogue Mage map for their picks. But then they're the ones that are going to have to win the mirror because they'll meet Warrior Mage if they try and blind lock Rogue Mage. I think Waz is definitely going to come in for the next game. Because I mean, this one in particular, Chaz drank the whole game. Like they were winning in that fight, and then they still spiraled out of control. Like they still needed to get through a block. They still needed to get through a ton of cooldowns on the Shadow Priest, whereas Thasia and Chaz just ran out. And looking at the scoreboard again, it's actually crazy to me how close this is overall. I think maybe Thasia got slightly better, Morrow got slightly the better of Thasia this time around with a 200k deficit in damage overall. But he was also the target that died, so 100k of that could have been all the damage done to the pod, maybe, potentially. So it's still very close between the teams. And it's crazy because it's like, that looked so one-sided. Like when I look at the score, I'm like, they didn't get dominated. But then when I look at the game, I'm like, they got dominated. So it's really hard to say. It just seems like maybe Frofsy with Thought Steal could be a big deal. Removing Polymorph from Thasia at periods of time.
I feel like this game was going perfect for Method the entire time, but then at one point when Tessia had to use his ice block, Chaz was in a poly and he started casting his shifting power and he just blinked out in the middle of the map when Chaz was in a poly. And at that point, he hadn't really been, targeted too much, Tessia. So he had like kind of a false sense of security. He pushed in, had the ice block, then he pushed in to get more CC. And he ended up dying for it. And they really didn't need to do any of that. They just needed to play safe whenever Chess was in CC and just make sure that you're on the same pillar. You're shutting down Asgard from ever drinking and just, win like C9. Just dampen and, just choke them out slowly. And I think that was the big mistake. They just got way too aggressive at the end.
It was one of those things where on the Grand Arena, we saw Skill-Capped EU do what Method just tried to pull off, where they had the mana lead and they pushed in to really close it out. The difference was in game number 1, Chaz literally had 0 mana. So it's pretty hard to recover from the damage when you have 0 mana. However, Asgarath, in this situation, he still had although he was behind, he still had some gas left in the tank. He could deal with that push. And I think the targeting was just better for Skill-Capped EU as well. I think in general, going after the mage is a lot more punishing, as Cauterize and Ice Block, a lot longer cooldowns than the Greater Fade and the Dispersion. So once you get those cooldowns out of the way at 40% dampening, 50% dampening, it's really unlikely that they're going to come back. Whereas the Dispersion and the Greater Fade, there's still a good chance that you're going to get those rotated back up, and you get a lot of value out of them as a result. So I think going after the mage, Of course, you can go after the priest if he overextends, but I think in general, just putting your damage there, focusing on that, is going to work out a lot better.
Yeah, we're going to have to see here if Skill Cap DU can keep this up, keep this going right now. If they win this next one, they don't win this series. This is best of 7, not best of 5, since this is the finals. So Method EU has a couple more chances to try and turn this one around here. They are going to be locking in Ashmane's Fall, and there's their composition as well, not shying away from that mirror once again. Are you guys surprised with the choice here?
I like this choice.
I think you can't switch. I feel like if you're going to win the series, you have to win the mirror, and switching feels pointless to me.
Yeah.
Unless they just want to like pick up a win. I think that basically what's going to happen with these two teams, unless we see some changes with certain classes, I think they're just going to have to play out a mirror match and see who comes out ahead. I think if Method EU had swapped it up, they still have a really good chance to lose. And even if they win, they have to go back to the situation where now they have like they have to lock in like an unideal composition. Whereas if they win with this, then they can feel confident in every matchup. At the worst, is a 50-50.
Yeah, it's so true. Games like these, when they have similar compositions, they have compositions that can counter each other, especially when they're so close like these two teams. That draft process can really be a huge determining factor, as we've seen here. It's game number 3. Skill Cap DU 2 points on the board already here against Method EU, doing very solidly in this mirror matchup, really rising to the occasion here. So let's see what they can do in game number 3 if they can keep this up.
Yeah, we're gonna see right now, and it's kind of like Ben said. If you swap off the mirror, you're admitting defeat here, and these players they all want to win, and most of these guys, well, all of these guys are, on mains here as well. So it really it really is just going to come down to who plays it better and who can get those big edges in terms of mana, in terms of cooldowns, and who pushes in at the right time. Let's see what they end up doing here. Right now, both of these mages just spamming out some fireballs on each other. Nothing too crazy going on. Nice mind control there by Zuni. He's going to force Maru to blink in and counterspell. Hessia now getting Dragon's Breath on his shifting power. And Maru looking for the Ring of Frost. Not going to be able to find it onto Chaz, but he does get it around the corner. Maybe Frosty can teleport in with that Ventir ability. Doesn't look like he's going to opt for it right now. And again, we're just going to have that same situation here. Both teams just PvEing kind of on top of each other. But I do like the positioning of Skill Cap EU a little bit more. Zuni and Tessia are playing super close over onto Chaz, whereas Maru and Frosty are playing very far away from Asgarath. So definitely a bit of a better situation there, because if you're playing too close to Chaz, well, you can go in and actually get crowd control. There, though, Maru didn't want to get caught up behind the pillar, so he opted to cancel that push. And once again, we're going to go back to this kind of wizard triangle formation.
All right, so it looks like Thasia is copying now. So build changes for Method here. They're copying their opponents. Thasia wants to go the Meteor build, realizing the value is going to be dropping heavily when the combustion is removed. So Thasia has finally come over to the side of all the fire mages. I feel like you, Zico, and Venruki are also saying like Meteor feels better in the matchups. So Thasia has now also succumb to the fire mage meta, the meteor meta here, and we'll have to wait and see if it ends up working out for them better, deeper into dampening. The early stages, it seems like just play neutral game, try and get drinks, get deep into dampening, and then punish positioning based on where the paladins are trying to drink, attack whoever's closer. If someone overextends, punish them immediately. And you're just playing by ear most of the game. I don't think that there is necessarily like this scripted game plan of like set this go up on the mage over and over and over, because that becomes too predictable and you end up overextending and taking too much damage. It's more about just maxing out your damage and preventing drinks, and then just punishing positioning when the healing is so significantly reduced. So early on, I'm not anticipating a huge amount of action. The most critical things are stopping the paladins from drinking.
Yeah, really, no question about it, and that's kind of the positioning we're seeing both these teams take, where neither one of these paladins really wants to push in. Thasia's going to be taking a big hit of damage there, but should be able to easily recover. And look at Chaz. Look at him. He's just so far away. He is thirsty. These paladins just can't wait to drink in this match. They're putting in a lot of work. You really can't blame them at this point. 3 minutes into the game, both paladins essentially 100% mana. Say Asgarath hasn't been able to sit down and drink quite as much. And that's what it comes down to. I mean, game number 1, 50% dampening plus. Game number 2, 50% dampening plus. Who can manage their defensive cooldowns at that point? Who can manage their mana just a little bit better? Punish people overextending. Little things like that are really important in a matchup like this. Big meteor's going to land on Marl. They might be able to just push through. A huge heal comes in from Frofsy. And that Shadowman legendary is just so strong. You get crowd control on the Paladin, and if you're not covering the Shadow Priest at the same time, which can be really difficult because a lot of the time you want to have that disarm, that silence on the mage, so he can't just shimmer away. All of a sudden, you don't really have a way to shut down that Shadowman, and you're going to be able to recover as a result. So you get kind of caught in this stalemate position.
Yeah, and the other thing as well is you want to, if you get a sheep onto Asgrath, you want to save your counterspell for the master spell, right? So Asgrath doesn't come out and heal, but if you counterspell the master spell, well, Prophecy is just going to do what Asgrath was going to do anyway. So you really don't have a great option other than, spending some of that lockdown, and that pressures lockdown, you definitely, like you mentioned, already need it for the mage. So just the fact that the Shadow Priest has 2 schools and also a lot of ways to kind of avoid CC with Fade, it just makes it so that the matchup does become this much of a stalemate. And both of these paladins, like we kind of explained earlier as well, if Chas just runs across the map now and looks for CC, well, Asgrath, so Chas is going to use his steed, run across, while Asgrath is going to have his steed to counter that around the pillar, and Chas is just going to be caught behind enemy lines and get crowd controlled, and that's exactly what's going to happen now. You can see Chas pushing in, looking for some crowd control. Can he find it? Doesn't look like it. Asgrath just ducking around the corner, and Chas going to go back to his little corner of shame before he gets caught up in a bunch of sheeps.
All right, well, with this positioning here, I like this bird's eye view. Just top-down view. You can see Flame Strike sniping Asgarath around the corner, preventing him from drinking. Both teams in a completely neutral position. However, Asgarath is the one who's more forced to drink here. He's going to try again. He gets Flame Striked again. Chaz is trying to dodge a Ring of Frost off to the side. Asgarath's leaving the pillar, lobbing in a ton of damage with that Avenging Wrath. And that is still a substantial difference in my mind between Asgarath and Chaz, is that Asgarath is doing more damage at the end of the game. Here we see Chaz lobbing in a Hammer of Wrath and a Judgment, and it might seem minor, but those 2 spells together, I feel like it's probably 10,000, 15,000 points of damage. It's nothing to scoff at. You really want to min-max and get those spells out when you can during the Avenging Wrath window to really tax or build pressure and momentum for your team. It's very important that you're not just kind of heal botting behind at the pillar and not doing any damage.
Yeah, no question about it. And it's just all that damage adding up over time can really help in a setup. I mean, we saw on Tolvaron where Thasia got down incredibly low on health. Just a little bit more damage coming in from that Paladin potentially pushes him over the edge, or all of a sudden you have Cauterize proc, or he's forced to ice block. So all that damage really adding up in a matchup like this. 7% dampening. We take a look at the healer's mana, which seems to be a major contributing factor for these teams to win. Chaz right now going for a Holy Light. Actually gets interrupted on it. They burst down Thasia, but he gets topped off by Zuniaki. So a nice power play there by Morrow. The blink counterspell, but no counterspell for Zuniaki. You're going to full health, Thasia. And that's exactly what we saw. Chaz now sneaking away, recovering his mana, drinking. These Paladins are just so thirsty in this matchup. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I feel like there's no real lead for either one of these teams. And we'll have to see who decides to eventually overextend and how they can capitalize on that positioning. Zuniaki and Thasia kind of pushing in right now. Morrow just spamming out the polymorphs, just trying to deny any damage. Now Thasia is actually out in the open. They might be able to try to punish him. Hammer of Justice comes in. I believe Chaz actually dispelled it. So free from that crowd control. Now Zuniaki, Thasia, they're looking to actually make a move here. Normally when a team pushes in, it's not super favorable for them at this time in the game, but let's see if they can do it. Morrow and a Hammer of Justice, silence on Asgrath. Can they take down Morrow? Can they get his Cauterize? He gets a little bit low, but I get the feeling that he's going to be fine, especially with this positioning, just retreating with Frosty, retreating with Asgrath. They should easily be able to recover.
Yeah, and Chaz does have an opportunity here if he wants to sit down for a drink, and it might look minor, but if you've spent any mana whatsoever, you may as well sit down and drink anytime you have the opportunity. We've seen how long these matches can go, and we've seen how much that mana matters. And speaking of mana, Asgraf right now sitting down. He gets Flame Strike, but the damage is kind of done. He already got full mana. Once again, Zuniaki now caught up in the Psychic Horror. Chaz is going to be the one who is slightly behind on mana, and that is basically what both of these teams play for. They want to find an edge in terms of mana. They want to get a little bit of pressure, force the other Paladin to spend some mana, have their Paladin sit down and drink when they have that pressure, and as soon as that happens, you can then push in. Right now, Chaz getting full mana once again after that drink. Now he's going to activate his wings, top everyone off. So this is a decent situation to push in if you are Method EU. But right now, Zuni's taking so much damage from Mara's Combustion. Finally gets dispelled there by Tessia. Tessia looking for a sheep here onto Asgraf, but Asgraf ducking behind the pillar. And there is a dispel coming out on Frofsy's sheep, which means that Maro is going to be stuck. There's no dispel available for him, so they're going to stun him. Now stunning up Zuniaki, going after him. Chaz dispels it into a full sheep. And Zuni now going for the Master Spell. If you kick the Master Spell, well, he's going to heal himself to full, and they don't have a kick for that Master Spell, actually fake casting Maro on that one, and he's going to be able to dispel his healer. And now once again here, Zuni actually fearing Asgraf into a full Ring of Frost. This is a decent setup here. Who are they going to go after? They stop the Master Spell of Frofsy, but look at him, just pops Fade, pops one Shadow Man. Maro alter times at full HP. Nobody is going to take damage as a result. Zuniaki and Tessia now both under heavy fire, and Asgraf just recovered a little bit of mana in that sheep instead. Now instead it's going to be Zuni and Tessia overextended here, and their healer in crowd control. They can't just duck around the corner the way Maro just did, and now Tessia instead gonna have to use 2 blinks there to get around the corner. But now there's an opportunity to swap to Chaz here. Big damage coming in still on Maro, actually on Tessia though, and it looks like Tessia's gonna be fine. Chaz not going to have to spend too much mana, and both of these teams are still very, very dead even.
Yeah, we got a stalemate here in game number 3. Skill Cap EU, if they win this, they'll take all the big maps away, which means their Warrior Mage is still an option on small maps as well. This is a very threatening situation for Method EU. They cannot afford to lose, and with it being so even at the moment, they're going to get desperate, and I'm wondering if they can keep their cool here this long of a series. I mean, every game is easily going to be at least 10 minutes plus, so they need to keep their stamina high, and they need to keep their mental fortitude in place here if they want to find victory, as otherwise they're going to have this unravel. It looks like Chaz is stunned up into a Ring of Frost. Thasia stunned up. Zuniaki counterspelled. Thasia uses Medallion, blinks back around the corner to avoid the engagement. Good reaction on Thasia's part. That was a big engagement by Skill Cap EU, and the Medallion is more than fair for a trade. Maro is now stunned up as Method EU look to try and push him over in the Hammer of Justice. Not enough damage. Mind Games comes in from Zuniaki. Chaz is trying to drink while Maro is pressured like that, but he's immediately sniped by a Flame Strike and will not regenerate too much mana. Chaz wraps around the corner again. Procking and Awakening, though, he's going to stay in the fight, I think, and try and use Hammer of Wrath and Judgment, try and get pressure for his team here. They've got Maro quite low on health. They're going to stun him on his Rune of Power, silence Asgraf. Nice play here by Zuniaki, getting aggressive on Maro, trying to push him down. If Asgraf doesn't get a... Okay, he got an Awakening proc. Avenging Wrath is going to boost Asgraf's healing quite a lot here, and should allow him to recover. And a little bit of this game does come down to RNG. If a Paladin is not getting an Awakening proc, it's a significant amount of healing. It basically negates the dampening when you get that. So here Chaz doesn't have Avenging Wrath, and he needs to proc Awakening. At the moment, his team doesn't have any pressure, so he does have that as an advantage. Asgraf is in a similar boat, but his Avenging Wrath comes up in 20 seconds, and I think it's going to be the entire game swinging on Avenging Wrath.
Yeah, it definitely could be. Polymorph on Chaz, 41% dampening. This is when things normally start to get really spicy in this matchup. Chaz has the mana lead. Thasia just so low. Can they get the Cauterize? If they can get it at this point, it's massive. Thasia forced to go into the ice block, and that is really, really important here for Skill Cap EU. They are ahead. Battlemasters falls from Thasia. He's 1% health. Can they get it? Chaz counterspell! A beautiful counterspell by Maro. Can they crack the seed? They do. That was such a nice play. Thasia goes into the ice block. Battlemasters fall, and in desperation, Chaz goes for a heal. Immediate counterspell, immediate snipe with a Pyroblast. They proc him and drop him. Skill Cap EU now has Method on match point.
Frofsy actually pre-casted a Mind Games out of that ice block as well to make sure that Cauterize can't proc, because if you have Mind Games on you and Cauterize procs, well, Aura is actually does damage to you, and we're gonna see that on the replay here as well. It's gonna be very, very
nice.
fun to watch. Yes, I love watching that happen to other mages.
Yeah, it's very sad when it
People.
happens to you, but it's
Yeah.
a really cool interaction. Mind Games probably one of my, just a shout out to Mind Games, probably one of my favorite abilities in Shadowlands. But we can see exactly how this one
Yeah.
plays out, Zico.
Yeah, very, very cool stuff here. We can see this is where the game, to quote Venruki, gets very spicy. And you can see Tessia still trying to hang on here. Master Spell comes out onto Chaz. Maro has his combustion active, but he gets stunned on it. And now there it is. Ice Block comes out. And look at this here, okay? So Battlemaster is going to fall. Chaz is going for the heal right there. He gets silenced right there. Zuniaki gets hammered. And then look at this. He trinkets, gets one shot. Look at that Mind Games cast from Frofsy right there. There's the snipe by Maro that Venruki was talking about, and there's the Mind Games triggering the Cauterize with the Mind Games. And also you see he's on fire, but he's on fire. It's an egg on fire, you know. It's like an egg that's being
Burnt.
boiled. So yeah, it's
boiled
that was just
seed.
Yeah, how do you like your eggs here, Sid? Because looks like Tassia definitely likes them well done.
All right, Skull Caps wrapping this one up kind of quickly so far. 3-0 right now, looking unstoppable in this matchup right now. And we're seeing these guys just come out on top so well right now, so cleanly. Method EU is going to have to figure something out, though, very, very quickly if they want to stay in this series right now. They still have a chance to turn this around, as this is best of 7 here. But they are very, very quickly running out of opportunities. And you guys were saying before, you know, if they switch off of that mirror, they're kind of admitting defeat. But it almost seems like that's their only option here, to try something else.
Can't do it. Can't try something else. I really don't think they can. I just think if they try something else, they just they're kind of digging themselves a hole anytime they go up against Skill Cap EU. So, I mean, the problem is that there's no composition that they have that will beat everything Skill Cap EU has. So they could try to put a point on the board, you know, go to a small map, maybe try the Rogue Mage Priest, go for lots of restells, lots of setups, but I'm like I really don't believe that that's a one-sided matchup. I don't think Rogue Mage Priest just wins that. I think the Shadow Priest Mage Paladin can easily win, and it's really scary. So for Method EU, their best course of action, in my opinion, is just continue to lock in the Shadow Priest Mage Paladin, try to just play it better. I mean, they've beaten Skill Cap EU, and they've realized that. I mean, they really don't have an option. One thing I do find interesting is that they're not trying to play Skill Cap EU's game anymore. So Skill Cap EU, they've been very hesitant to push in. They've been kind of just sitting back, counter pressuring a lot. And this series in particular, that's been their game plan. Method EU, they, you know, if they can't change their composition, maybe just change the overall play style of the match. And on the smaller map, it's not going to be nearly as easy for Askerath to run and hide. So I like that. At least they're making that adaptation.
Yeah, it's true, and that was a very, very quick draft process for them. Both these teams locking in their comps instantly, which shows you Method EU is confident enough to go into this game number 4 on match point with that mirror once again. So they either know that they're gonna be able to figure something out here, or they're like, yeah, we may as well just lock it in once again. But it's gonna be Hook Point, the map as well, quite a bit different as well when you compare it to Ashermane's. But we're gonna be seeing those two compositions locked in once more. Supatis, how is that gonna change the dynamic of this game?
I think swapping Paladin and stopping Drinks is going to be a big deal here. It's obviously a more aggressive map, and we saw Method EU get Paladin kills. I would like to see Skill Cap EU do that as well. The Mind Control Bop tactic, this is a really good map to do it. It's really tough to drink, so maybe they're saying here we're going to go to a map where no sides drink and we can win if that happens. But it is a more aggressive stance, so I'm curious if Method EU want to go for aggression on match point, which is pretty risky also because it can backfire. So it should be exciting. But I can't believe Skill Cap EU could 4-0. Like, they subbed in Frofsy for Zeepai. It seemed like they just found a good comp with Zeepai, that Turbo Cleave was owning everybody. And now they've brought Frofsy in, and they're just like smashing the mirrors out of nowhere in the finals here. So pretty good recovery, I think, for Skill Cap EU overall as a team. And they're looking phenomenal at the moment.
It's almost like we're seeing them find their stride like just now. This team.
In this, their first mirror.
They were winning a lot of tournaments
Yeah,
before this, but
Yeah.
I think they won the last 2 cups, so maybe all of them. Has Method won a cup yet? I don't actually know. I feel like
who
Skill
won
Cap
the
EU
first
definitely
one?
won too.
No, didn't Method win the first one?
We have like a
don't
month or
think
2 months in between the first one and the last
Yeah,
one.
there's
My
yeah,
memories.
these have been so spread out. Have you guys been dealing
Yeah.
with that? Like since it's like every other weekend, you kind of like have to refresh yourself week to week of what's going on since these have been a little bit more spread out than we're accustomed to. But yeah, I mean, Skill Cap, they have won a number of tournaments. They are a very strong team, but I just mean in the sense that this series in and of itself seems very dominant on the side of Skill Cap EU, and it's clear that they've found even more synergy than maybe they previously had. But it is game number 4 here, 20 seconds in already. Skill Cap EU on match point, 1 victory away from winning the 4th and final European series.
All right, we are already in the middle of the action here. Let's see what do they actually decide to do here. Full sheep on tomorrow. So they're doing exactly what Ben was talking about. They want to go to the smaller map and just play the matchup more aggressively here. And let's see if that is going to change here. Tessia looks like the one who's definitely taking the brunt of this exchange here. Maro with the combustion still has more crowd control on the Chaz. 1 more sheep's going to sneak in. No more follow-up CC after that, though. Means Chaz is going to be able to top off Tessia. And now they're going to go in here and go after Asgarath. Actually, a big hit here onto Asgarath. He gets caught up in a Hammer of Justice. He gets life gripped away, though. Frofsy saving the day there with a nice grip and a nice Shadow Man. He's going to keep Asgarath alive, only using that Divine Protection. And this is what Method wants to do here. They want to just set up these Paladin kills. That's how they won that one mirror that we saw in the upper bracket finals, and let's see if they can do it again.
Yeah, definitely will be an option for them and something that Skill Cap EU need to be prepared for. This has been quite a long series, and any of those little clutch swaps could definitely catch you off guard. But at the moment, they're focusing down Maro. He's going to use a big Triune Ward there with the Save by the Light, I think. It's a huge shield on Maro. Now they're turning it around on Thasia. Chaz is trying to charge in to help out and support. With Avenging Wrath, he should be able to heal through this incoming damage on Thasia. And basically that orange icon that's glowing for Chaz, when that's glowing, it means his healing is incredibly high. When it's not glowing, his healing is not so high. So he's going to start to struggle. And he's running a talent Awakening. So every time he uses Word of Glory, he has a chance to proc that Avenging Wrath. And if he's not proccing it for a long period of time in between the cooldown window, it will be hard for him to recover. And I think that's a major component in the mirror matchup between these teams, as we see Chaz proc and Awakening, but he gets crowd controlled on it. If they can continuously seeing it, this could be devastating. They're going after Zuniaki. Asgrat charges in. They stun Chaz. They grip Chaz around the corner. They're not able to capitalize too much. They're trying to swap to Chaz with the remainder of the stun, but not enough damage to do so. Chaz recovers with a Divine Favor, looking like he wants to get aggressive, stunning up Maro with a Poly on Asgarath. Maro going to trinket into a silence, but Alter Time was already active, and it looks like they're struggling to get it off. So Maro's looking kind of durable here. 1 second fear left on Asgarath. Asgarath getting Avenging Wrath proc and is likely to get a lot of healing. I don't think that Skill Cap EU will be in trouble. They're getting aggressive. They silence Chaz. They Dragon's Breath Chaz. They need to find Polymorph. They get a Polymorph. Zuniaki's getting blasted by a Mind Games on match point here. Everything on the line for Method EU in the finals of Europe. Mass Dispel going to connect from Zuniaki as they begin to stabilize. However, they picked a map that's really hard to drink on, and they're already behind on mana.
Yeah, not a great spot to be in. Skill Cap to you, just looking great. They're on match point. They're 1 away. And they're up now on Thasia. Morrow and Frosty looking to get aggressive. Big setup here. Morrow forced to get dispelled there by Asgarath. He's still incredibly low. Trying to just get back behind the pillar, just repositioning, trying to just stay away from the fight for a little bit, allowing his Paladin to top him off. And it looks like Asgarath will do exactly that. However, there's a full Polymorph, and they're up on Frosty once again. Morrow in a situation where he's just trying to line of sight. He has Alter Time up, I do believe, right now, so if he can avoid that Dispel, he can bounce his health back up to full. Dragon's Breath now out onto Chaz. That gets denied. Nice Dragon's Breath there by Thasia. Counter engagement, forcing Morrow to retreat. This arm coming out with that Psychic Horror. Morrow in the midfield, but with no real crowd control on Asgarath. There is a silence. I don't think it is going to be enough, though. And this mana lead, once again, just developing itself here for Skill Cap EU. However, Morrow's been on the back foot. Now a swap on Zuniaki. He gets topped off. Full Polymorph is secured on Chaz. 3 versus 1 situation. Zuniaki eats 1 big meteor. Hammer of Justice on Thasia. Beautiful setup here by Skill Cap EU, but there's just not enough damage to really push through the defense that Method EU has available. They kind of shrugged that setup off, and now are looking to get some damage rolling here on Morrow.
Well, let's see if they can find it. Hammer of Justice on tomorrow. Maro's going to activate the mirror images. He's going to blink away here to safety. Still taking a decent amount of damage. You still have a half polymorph here onto Asgarath. Decent damage coming out from Tessia. Another disarm here to follow that up. Big damage still hitting Maro, but Frofsy keeping him alive here with the Shadow Priest off healing. And now Frofsy looking potentially to get aggressive here, get some CC over onto Chaz. Double Ring of Frost onto Tessia as well as Zuniaki. And Maro is just spamming out the fireballs. He's got his combustion ready. He's ready to go here. He wants to make sure that he can find some pressure, but they just need to find that cross CC. Problem is right now Tessia does have his trinket, so both of these teams actually have basically everything. So even with both of these teams really playing super aggressive, both paladins just have basically full mana, and both teams have pretty much everything to work with still. So this is going to be interesting to see who can kind of get ahead here. Right now Tessia forced to he blinks in. He does get dispel right there, so he wasn't forced to use his trinket. He was still in the spell range of Chaz. And here we go. This is the setup. Maro, what are you gonna do? There's the Hammer of Justice. Do they have a sheep there onto Ascraft? They do, and there it is. Maro forced to use his trinket there to spell steal that combustion. So nice push there for Method EU. Is gonna net them Maro's trinket. Chaz sitting down to drink immediately at the back end of that pressure as well. Method doing some good moves here. Now it's Skillcap's turn to respond.
All right, let's see what they can get done. They stopped Chaz from drinking, which was clutch. They still got a lead there. Silent stun lock here from Frofsy trying to take down Thasia. Chaz dispelling, but into a full polymorph. That could be devastating for Thasia here. On match point, mass dispel from Zuni, removing that polymorph. Chaz repositioning, trying to get heals, but he doesn't have Avenging Wrath. It's a lot of damage to deal with without Avenging Wrath. Thasia's on the run, blinking back behind the pillar, rebuffing to protect his Triune Ward in the future, as well as just amplify the damage and healing of his team. Very important to be reapplying that Arcane Intellect, as it's going to be dispelled quite frequently. Just a small way to get an advantage in the game. Zuniaki loading out Void Eruption, trying to get some damage out on tomorrow here, but no crowd control on Asgrath. Thasia blinks in, gets counterspelled, likely going to get pushed back pretty hard. Chaz gets pulled in to try and avoid crowd control. Maro gets pulled away from the fight. Asgrath is still stunned up. They're pushing for the Cauterize. They get the Cauterize on Maro, as well as the sacrifice from Asgrath. They could swap to Asgrath. They're trying to split their damage up. Frofsy takes a big hit. That was, in my mind, the first time in this series in the finals where Method EU have a tempo and momentum advantage.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking good, and now Maro definitely has to be very afraid. However, he still has his Ice Block. Set up here on Thasia. Can they get the counter Ice Block? 12% dampening. This smaller map is just forcing both these teams' hands. They can't just sit back and shoot out fireballs. They really need to push in, get that crowd control, and it seems like the team that is more aggressive is coming out ahead here. Polymorph on Asgrath. Maro's all alone. Interrupt on Frofsy. Method EU taking this map and really showing dominance on it. Maro trying to get some counter pressure rolling with his combustion, but looks like Thasia should be able to hold on. Positioned nicely there with Zuniaki and Chaz just all together, all getting healed up. Maro tries to shut that down with a Ring of Frost, blinking in for a full polymorph. Manages to land it. Big heal coming in from Zuniaki. There's the Hammer of Justice. Potential Mass Dispel. He gets a double 2-for-1 there by Zuniaki. The polymorph as well as the Hammer of Justice. Excellently done, being patient with that. And now Method EU is looking to get aggressive once again. Hammer of Justice here. Maro into silence. This could easily be the Ice Block trinket. Divine Toll from Asgarath trades to keep Maro alive. They managed to do so. Now Maro wants to get some damage rolling here on Thasia, but Thasia just, as soon as he is in trouble, is shimmering behind the pillar with Chaz. Good positioning from him.
Yeah, and we're going to see here, once again, Chess was trying to sit down for a drink there. Maro, oh, look at him. He's doing them in Poika Strat once again here, trying to fake that he's playing the game, but he is in fact trying to drop and get out of combat. But they are going to stop him, and Tessia actually taking a lot of damage here. Chess needs to be careful. He's caught up in a full polymorph. Could be the trinket sacrifice. He gets Klepted there as well on all of his shields, Tessia that is. We're going to see if they can get another sheep here. They do. Do they have anything more to follow it up? Zuniak actually being the one getting swapped to in a Hammer of Justice, and he's going to respect the damage and the CC chain, trade out his dispersion. Tessia's still quite low here, but Chaz should be able to pick him up. He's got his Avenging Wrath active. Asgarath sitting down as well for a drink. Gets stopped, though, by the Flame Strike. Chaz getting full mana right now. Maro blinking in for the Dragon's Breath. Gets Hammer of Justice behind the pillar, and Tessia actually trying to capitalize on that with a combustion. Gets Klepted off by Maro, and now Maro trying to reverse the pressure back onto Zuniaki, but Asgarath actually caught up in more CC. Do you have anything more to follow it up? There's the fear now, but Maro still looking pretty healthy so far. Asgarath now out of crowd control. Looks like he's going to be able to keep Maro in the fight. 3 minutes still on Morrow's Cauterize. He needs to be careful with that. And Tessia now, though, needs to be extremely careful because Chaz is caught up in a full poly. Big damage onto Tessia. This could be the Ice Block. It's going to be the Trinket Sacrifice instead of Chaz. If they have a stun, they could potentially swap to Chaz, but Askarath is in a polymorph right now, so he's not going to be able to do that just yet. Let's see if he does go for it, though. Doesn't look like he even has it available. Chaz instead is going to be the one stunning him up. Morrow here in a lot of trouble. There's a bubble and the heals coming out from Asgarath with that Dispel as well. So Method slowly but surely pulling ahead here once again on cooldowns and on mana.
Yeah, let's see if they can keep it up here on Hook Point as Asgarath is chasing around. Mind Control Bop! Are they going to be able to KO here? I think Chaz is going to be in a lot of trouble if they manage to land this crowd control. They've got him locked down in the stun. They're trying to power him down on match point. He's silenced up. He's on Forbearance. Are they going to be able to close it out here? Dragon's Breath at low health. They don't find enough damage to do so. Skill Capped EU get cheeky in that moment, but totally get shut down. They did manage to get Medallion away from Thasia, though, previously. And now with Combustion, let's see if Thasia can do something. Lands a Frost Nova at Frosty behind the pillar. They stun Asgarath. Mind Games attempt here. Big push on Morrow. Combustion going to get popped. Morrow ice blocks immediately. Zuniaki Mass dispelling the ice block. Trying to swing with the momentum. They have a slight mana advantage, but Chaz now into the polymorph. Thasia on the run. Trying to line of sight and break Chaz out with some AoE here. Not finding it. Chaz now in Ring of Frost. Thasia going to power up with that Rune of Power and try and lob out damage towards Morrow. There's no sacrifice. There's no Cauterize. There's no ice block. Method EU have Shadow Fiend. They've got Silence. They might be able to push for the win here if Skill Capped EU aren't careful. This is the first time that the EU have been in such a commanding position in the finals, but Thasia has to block. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Skill Capped EU launch an attack, and they get one of the most precious cooldowns of the Mage on the side of Method EU, and they're keeping things interesting.
They certainly are. Chaz with no sacrifice, gonna have to keep Thasia alive. I would still say Method EU is ahead in terms of cooldowns. Mana still in their favor as well. This is their game to lose at this point. Morrow on the run, a full Ring of Frost lands on Asgarath. He does have a break, but no emergency healing to really keep this team alive. Thasia just going to play on top of Chaz right now. They make a swap on Zuniaki. They don't get the dispersion. Can they get more? They don't get the greater fade either. Bit of a disaster there for Skill Capped EU. They commit a lot of damage. That was a nice setup, but at the end of it all, really not accomplishing too much. And now about even. Frosty looking for a Mind Games on Thasia. Gets dispelled immediately there by Chaz. He's actually in a fear. Morrow blinks in for a polymorph. Zuniaki looking for a Mass Dispel. He finds it immediately. Nicely done. Counter Mass Dispel coming in as both these mages just throwing pyros at each other's faces at 42% dampening. Both these teams playing very aggressive, but still dampening is so high at this point in the game. Hammer of Justice on Morrow. He has the Cauterize available once again. Asgarath in a silence, but it looks like Morrow should be able to hold on, getting a little bit off healing there by Frosty. Thasia in a very kind of aggressive position. It's actually Morrow in the aggressive position, and it's Thasia on the back foot. Chaz sneaks around, tops off Thasia. Morrow in a little bit of trouble right now, actually throws out his Combustion. Thasia immediately gets out of line of sight, just trying to avoid that damage. Shimmer in, Kleptomania Spellsteal. Morrow now may have overstayed his welcome in this positioning. Look at Zuniaki, he's just right beside Asgarath. Can he get any crowd control? Potentially looking for a Mind Control here. He finds the Mind Control. Thasia's just so low. Chaz can't push in. Method EU is completely falling apart here, Zico.
Yeah, big push here coming in on top of Method EU. Chaz caught up in a fear. They could swap to Chaz here if they want to. Let's see what they do. Tessia is still the main target here. Big damage coming in. Morrow's all over him. You're going to see Froxy get those, but Period catches out. Cauterize is going to trigger. Chaz still in Ice Block or in Bubble here, spamming out the Flash of Lights here. Morrow with the shifting power tries to take him down, and they might have just done it here. 1% HP. How is he going to keep him alive? Chaz is not going to be able to keep him alive. There's the pod now, Proc. Chaz spamming out the heals. He gets polyed on it, and there's no way they're going to be able to protect that. And Method EU is going to fall to Skill Capped EU at 51% dampening. They were so far ahead in this game, but somehow, some way, Skill Capped EU claw their way back in the match and take victory.
An incredible series by these guys. Skill Capped EU, super clean all around, especially against Method EU, who they faced earlier today, and now they are turning the table right now, winning this series 4-0. The final cup of the season as well before we head into the circuit series, and this is just going to give these guys, I feel like, a hefty confidence boost, Super Tees, before heading into that circuit.
Oh yeah, they're well rounded. They're able to beat Method EU and Amir with the pickup on Frosty on that Shadow Priest 4-0 with confidence. They were even behind this game. It was looking dicey. And then just look at this. Look at all 3 members of Method EU. They're all just basically dead. There's no cooldowns. There's no mana for Chaz. He's not getting any Awakening procs. That Avenging Wrath I was talking about is 30 seconds away. If he got a proc here, he may have been able to save Thasia, but because he wasn't able to and he didn't have Avenging Wrath, they're just completely getting decimated. And so one-sided in this final game. Frosty with a substantial damage lead, Morrow with a substantial damage lead. Chaz evened up a bit with Asgarath here. But I think the differential between Frosty and Morrow was so substantial this time around that it wasn't going to make up for it. And now moving into the circuit stage, they're looking to be the #1 contender for Europe.
Yeah, they certainly are. Super T's really